Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, March the 19th. We got a big Friday night slate. We got 10 games tonight. This is a really fun slate. There's a ton of value today, specifically from one team that we'll talk about, as we go through each team. There's plenty of stud options to pay up for. This does feel like one of those slates where there's already a lot of good standout plays. Making a lineup is going to be tough tonight because there's so many good plays. It's going to be tough to, fit all these guys into one lineup. But as we do go through each team, I'll be sure to touch on all that stands out to me from each team looking at the slate on Thursday night. Just give you guys my early thoughts like I always do. But before we do get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well. If you are new here, be sure to click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also get notified every time I do go live. Once again, I will be live streaming this afternoon for tonight's slate. Should go live probably around 4:30 Eastern time. We do have a little bit of a later lock tonight. Locks at 7:30, so I'll push the stream back 30 minutes. We'll go live about 4:30. Talk through this slate, answer all your guys' questions. If you are able to tune into the stream, I would appreciate it if you would, and I think it's beneficial for you because we talk through everything, answer all your guys' questions. But yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check out my Patreon content, link down below in the description as well. If that's something that does interest you, I do have a lot of additional content on Patreon which you can check out. But let's go ahead and start off with the Kings and Celtics game. Out of the gate, this is one that I think is pretty appealing, more so on the Celtics side, but there are some guys that I think are viable on the Kings. You got De'Aaron Fox at 9,100. Fox is someone that I've played a lot this year. He's someone I basically always consider. He's just been so good this season, gets a ton of usage, plays a ton of minutes. He's just been so productive when he's out there. This matchup isn't great, though. It is a really big slate. I think there are some other stud options I do prefer tonight, but if you are playing a lot of lineups, if you're playing even 5-10 lineups, I would definitely have De'Aaron Fox in my player pool just because we know the upside he has. Even in a tougher matchup like this against the Celtics, we know Fox is playing 38 to 40 minutes and is likely to give you 45 to 50 DK points, if not more. So I do have some interest in him. Now, Rashaan Holmes, he was someone I liked a lot last slate against Washington. He got into some foul trouble. He wound up, being a pretty disappointing play. It's a tougher matchup today, but I do expect Rashaan Holmes to play a ton of minutes once again. He only played 27 minutes last game, but like I said, that was because of foul trouble. He fouled out in those 27 minutes. Just without Marvin Bagley, I do expect there to be more minutes available for Holmes. Now, Hassan Whiteside is back with the team, and he is playing, so Whiteside will basically be the backup center, but I still expect Holmes to probably play like 34 minutes, and Whiteside plays, 14 or 15. If we're going to get over 30 minutes from Rashaan Holmes, he has the upside to pay off 7,100. Does he stand out as a top play today? No, but still someone I would have, in my player pool if I was playing a lot of lineups. But really, I don't know if I'm going to be looking to too much else on this Sacramento team. I do want to mention Tyrese Halliburton. He did start last game in place of Marvin Bagley. I assume they're going to start him again. He was on a 32-minute limit last game, and he did play exactly 32 minutes, had 26 DK points in that time. He's still pretty affordable on DK at 5,700. I'd assume he's going to get more than 32 minutes today. I think there's basically no more minutes limit for Halliburton. He should be back to playing his normal minutes, probably 33, 34. He's someone I do have some interest in. I would say him and Fox are probably my two favorite plays from Sacramento. I don't see too much else, though, that I like on this team. Bielitsa, I was hoping he was going to start last game, but he did not. He only played 15 minutes off the bench. Just no interest in him, really. Corey Joseph, I will mention, just because he played 25 minutes off the bench, he's pretty cheap. If we're going to get like mid-20s minutes from Corey Joseph, he could be viable. But like I said at the beginning of the video, we do have a good amount of value on this slate, specifically from one team. So Corey Joseph, just more of a secondary play. I think it's really Fox and Halliburton, I think, stand out the most. And then I don't mind Rashaan Holmes either at 7,100. We can go ahead and move on to the other side with the Celtics. So in Boston today, they're getting back Kemba Walker, who rested last game. But we do know that Tristan Thompson is going to remain out, which does benefit Daniel Tice, does benefit Robert Williams. We'll be sure to talk about those two guys. But looking at the big three from Boston, Tatum, Brown, and Kemba, it is a really good matchup here against Sacramento. Sacramento plays really fast. They're not good defensively. You could definitely get a ceiling game from one of those three guys, but it's just tough to predict which one's going to put up the big game. I think on this big slate, there's just other guys I'd rather look to in their price range. There's other options I prefer. I don't mind them, but not top plays for me. Just not a ton, at the top from Boston that I really like. But the big men, that's where I really am looking to target on Boston. So with Tristan Thompson out, the two biggest beneficiaries lately have been Robert Williams and Daniel Tice. Now, Robert Williams last game, obviously he came off the bench. He's probably going to keep coming off the bench. I assume Daniel Tice is going to continue to start at center. But Robert Williams has been playing really well off the bench. He actually played his season high in minutes last game, 27 minutes, which was the most, like I said, the most he's played all season. Now, I think Robert Williams does have some sort of I think he has asthma. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me on that, but he does have something that limits, how many minutes he can play. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and play 36 minutes just because I don't think his body can handle it. But if he's going to get anywhere close to 27 minutes, I mean, Robert Williams, this dude's he's a fantasy monster when he's out there. He's a point per minute player. If not, averages 1.2, 1.3 points per minute. He can score, he can rebound, he's a great shot blocker. He's just a guy that can go out there and stuff the stat sheet in a great matchup against Sacramento. If we're going to get anywhere close to 27 minutes from Robert Williams, I don't mind paying $5,800 for him. Last game he got 22 minutes against Utah when Thompson was out, got 27 last game. My best guess is he probably gets anywhere from 22 to 25 minutes, but he could get a few more if he's playing really well. If Daniel Tice maybe gets into some early foul trouble, we could see, Robert Williams play even more minutes. This dude just has so much upside on a point per minute basis that if he's going to get anywhere close to mid-20s minutes, I'm looking to him at $5,800, and he's someone I actually like quite a bit on this slate. I do like him on Yahoo as well. He still remains pretty affordable over there at $22. He's definitely one of my favorite center options, and I think with his price coming up a little bit, that might keep his ownership down on this big slate. So really do like Robert Williams. And then Daniel Tice, I will mention, he was very popular last slate. I played Daniel Tice. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. He had that big game against Utah and then came back with a stinker against Cleveland. He did play 26 minutes again, but only 11 Draftkings points, just wasn't nearly as productive. Now this matchup is much better. Really good matchup here against Sacramento. Pace up spot. I still think Daniel Tice is a really good value today. There's a lot of value already. I don't know if Tice is going to be someone I start my lineup with, but he is definitely a value play I'm going to be considering. Even though he killed me last slate, he busted, I'm totally fine going right back to him. He should be way more productive on a point per minute basis when he's out there. He is more productive when he starts at center, when he's not having to play alongside Tristan Thompson. And I think last game they actually played Tice and Williams alongside each other for a few minutes. They didn't do it much. I don't know if they're really going to do that here. My best guess, though, is we probably get 26 minutes from Tice, 22 minutes from Williams. I expect Williams to be way more productive, but he's also more expensive. So both are in play for me. You could play both in the same lineup. I don't think I'd do that personally, but I do like Daniel Tice a good amount as a value play. I like Robert Williams a lot. Those are the two guys I'm really looking to target on Boston today, are the big men. So that does it for the Celtics. We can go ahead and move on to the next game, San Antonio and Cleveland. So on the Spurs today, there really isn't a ton that I like here. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, they both remain out. So Dejounte Murray, you could play on a big slate like this, though. I don't know if Dejounte Murray really stands out as a top option. This matchup isn't great. Cleveland, they are not really good defensively, but they also do play really slow. I don't think this is a game I really want to have a ton of exposure to. I think there's a couple guys you can target. There's a guy I like on Cleveland. You can maybe play Dejounte Murray here. But I think there's other guards I'd rather target in his price range. Kind of the same with Jakob Poeltl. I'd rather play Robert Williams for cheaper over Jakob Poeltl. Derek White, you never know what you're going to get from Derek White. He had a good game last game against Chicago, 34 DK points in 33 minutes. He should be productive when he's out there. Without DeRozan, without Aldridge, Derek White does average about a fantasy point per minute with those two guys off the floor. Should play probably 30 minutes or more if he's, not in foul trouble and if the game stays close. Don't mind Derek White, don't mind Dejounte Murray, but I really don't see too much that stands out from San Antonio in terms of, core options. Now in Cleveland, there is one guy that I do really like on Cleveland that we'll talk about in a second. We do know Andre Drummond and Kevin Love are both going to be out. Kevin Love, it sucks, man. He came back from his injury and then he got re-injured and now he's out again. Dude just can't stay healthy. But with Love and Drummond out, the biggest beneficiaries there are going to be Jared Allen and Larry Nance. Jared Allen at 7,400, I don't have too much interest in. He just really hasn't been that productive lately. We've seen him definitely kind of tail off as of late. He's still getting pretty good minutes. Just the production on a point per minute basis is nowhere near as good as it was, for that stretch, early or late February when he was putting up 40, 50 fantasy points a night. He's just not doing that right now. He's not producing like you would want him to. Tough to go to Jared Allen, but Larry Nance I actually do like quite a bit, and I think he's definitely my favorite guy to target from Cleveland. Just the last two games with Kevin Love out, he's played 38 and 37 minutes, been really productive as well with 34 and 44 DK points. Larry Nance has always been a pretty productive player when he did get the minutes, or when he does get the minutes. When he came back from his injury, the first two games back from injury, he really wasn't that good, but he's been really good these last two games. He's seen his minutes, greatly increase. And I think as long as tonight's game stays close, we're probably going to get mid to high 30s in minutes from Larry Nance. And if he's going to play anywhere close to, 35, 36 minutes, he is way too cheap at 5,200. So I really, really like Larry Nance from Cleveland. He's definitely one of the better power forward options on this slate. I think, him and Daniel Tice, if I can find the salary, I would much rather play Larry Nance. But do really, really like Larry Nance. I think he's definitely my favorite play from Cleveland today. I don't see too much else, though, that I'm really targeting on the Cavs outside of Nance. So moving on to the next game, Utah and Toronto. So on Utah today, we know that Mike Conley sat out on Thursday night. He should be back for this game. I would assume he sat out Thursday so that he could play today. So I'm expecting Mike Conley to be back. And with Mike Conley back, I don't see too much I really like on Utah. It's not a great matchup here against Toronto. Everyone's kind of priced appropriately. I had a lot of interest in those Utah guys on Thursday night when it was, it was a really good matchup. Obviously, Conley was out then. Now that they're fully healthy, now that Conley's back, I really don't like much on Utah today. Donovan Mitchell, you could play in tournaments, but I don't really see much interest. Not much interest for me. I think there's probably other guards I'd even rather target over him. So Utah's kind of a fade for me. Not much I like there. On Toronto, it's kind of the same thing. Toronto's getting healthy again. They have Lowry fully healthy, obviously. VanVleet and VanVleet and Siakam are both back as well. So this team is basically fully healthy. I will say the one guy that stands out, factoring in price, is probably Pascal Siakam. 7,100 does feel a little bit too cheap for him. In his first game back from COVID protocols, he did play 30 minutes. He wasn't really that good, but 7,100, if we're going to get anywhere close to normal minutes for Pascal Siakam, I think 7,100 is too cheap, even in a tougher matchup against the Jazz. I guess he'd be the one guy I target from Toronto, but again, this is another game I really just don't have much interest in. We have so many games today. I don't want to, just talk about everybody. So I think Utah-Toronto is one I'm probably going to be avoiding most likely. Don't really see much I like here on either side. So moving on to the next one, the Pacers and the Heat. So on the Pacers today, they're another team I don't have too much interest in. I will mention Caris LeVert, though. I think Caris LeVert is the one guy that stands out from Indiana. Now on DraftKings at 6,900, I wouldn't say he's like a top option at that price point. He did have 35 DK points, though, in 34 minutes. He got up to 34 minutes last game against Brooklyn. I think basically there's no minutes limit for Caris LeVert moving forward. He should be playing full minutes now moving forward. I think 34, 35 minutes a night is most likely going to be, the workload for LeVert. And when he's getting 35, 36 minutes a night, I mean, he's definitely someone you can play at 6,900. I think on Yahoo, though, that's where Caris LeVert looks really good today. He's still super cheap on Yahoo, $22. I think he looks like one of the better shooting guard options. Definitely someone I'm going to be looking to on Yahoo at that price point. Now that he's getting, 34, 35 minutes, I do like him quite a bit here, even in a, less than ideal spot against Miami. But on DraftKings, I don't think really anyone on Indiana stands out as a top play. Sabonis, Brogdon, LeVert, I think are all tournament options, but none of them are like core plays for me, guys I would be building around. So we can go ahead and move on to the Miami side and talk about the Heat. On Miami, this is another team I don't have too much interest in today. Jimmy Butler for 9,500 with Bam back. Like, I just don't want to pay 9,500 for Jimmy Butler. Sure, he could go out there and put up 55, 60 DK points any night, but I think it's a lot less likely that you get that now that Bam is back. Like, Jimmy's just going to lose a little bit of usage. He's just not going to be as productive. So I don't really like Jimmy too much at his salary. I don't like Bam that much at his salary. I really don't like much from Miami either. There isn't too much I like in this game as well. Like, not a game I have too much interest in outside of Caris LeVert on Yahoo. I think it's too cheap. But we can go ahead and move on to the next one. If there's games I don't have much interest in, I'm just going to say that. I want to just kind of fly through the games that don't really interest me. So we can talk about Detroit and Houston now, excuse me. So on Detroit, looking at the Pistons today, there is one guy that I think does, look like a very solid play from Detroit. Delon Wright actually do like a good amount at 6K. We've seen Delon Wright, get his normal minutes lately. He did get 38 minutes last game against Toronto. He had come back from injury and was kind of getting limited in his, first one or two games back, but there's basically no minutes limit on Wright moving forward. He should get back to playing 36, 38 minutes, and this is someone that, can be very productive when he does get the minutes. We saw him nearly triple-double last game in those 38 minutes, had 45 DK points. Matchup's pretty good against Houston. Houston has been playing pretty fast this year. They've been, a pretty bad team overall. So I do like Delon Wright here at 6K. He's the one guy that I think does really stand out from Detroit. Definitely my top play from the Pistons. Jeremy Grant, I think, in tournaments makes some sense. He is, small forward, power forward eligible. Small forward is usually always a tougher position to fill. I would say that's not the case today. We do have some cheap plays I like at small forward, but yeah, you could definitely pay up for Jeremy Grant. Mason Plumlee as a lower-owned center option you could target, but his minutes have kind of been going down lately. He's not getting the big minutes like he was before. He's only playing like 24, 25 minutes now. In a good matchup against Houston, though, could Mason Plumlee go out there and put up 40 DK points in 25 minutes? He absolutely could. But again, like I think I'd rather just play Robert Williams for a little bit cheaper in an equally as good matchup. And Robert Williams, a guy that is just as good of a point per minute player as Plumlee is. So yeah, I think on Detroit, it's really Delon Wright that stands out. He's the guy I really do like from the Pistons. They have Wayne Ellington out, they have McGruder out. I don't think that really changes a ton though. Frank Jackson started last game, but he really didn't do anything. He played 31 minutes, but he only had 10 DraftKings points. Like, I just don't want to play Frank Jackson. He's just not a productive player, especially not when he's not their point guard. If he was playing point guard, it'd be different, but when he's not playing with the ball in his hands, he's just not that productive of a player. So, yeah, I think it's just Delon Wright for me on the Pistons today. Now, in Houston, looking at the Rockets, we do have a pretty, impactful injury to watch here with the status of John Wall. So, John Wall is currently questionable. I think if John Wall plays, this really isn't a Houston team I have too much interest in. I will mention Christian Wood just because this is a really good matchup against Detroit. It is a revenge game for him if you want to factor that in. He played 26 minutes in his first game back from injury last game against the Warriors. He was pretty productive in that time, 35 DK points. We don't exactly know how many minutes he's going to play today. I don't think he's going to go back to playing 35, 36 minutes, but maybe he gets like 30 to 32 minutes, which honestly could probably be enough in this matchup. He's probably just a tournament option, though, at best. Unless we get word that he's on no minutes limit, then I would have a lot more interest in Christian Wood. But if the minutes limit's still going to be there, obviously it's tough to roster him even in a really good spot. Oladipo, my interest in Oladipo depends on if John Wall plays or not. If John Wall plays, I don't really want to target any of the Houston guards. Even Kevin Porter Jr., I don't have much interest in if John Wall plays. But if John Wall is out, then I think Oladipo's viable. Kevin Porter is viable. At their price points, though, I don't think either one would be like top plays for me. And then these secondary guys I really don't want to target, like Jayshawn Tate, KJ Martin, Daniel House. I'm just not playing these guys on a big slate like this where we have so much other value from other teams. So moving on to the next one, Brooklyn and Orlando. Now on the Nets today, Kyrie Irving, he missed last game for, I believe it was, I can't remember what it was. It was a groin injury, but he's probable today. Kyrie's expected back. So with Kyrie back, obviously James Harden, not going to be nearly as productive as he was last game, but I still think James Harden is one of the best pay-up options on this slate, especially since we don't have a guy like Giannis. Giannis is someone I always like to pay up for, but he's not on the slate. There are other studs you could look to, but I do really like Harden here. We know what we're getting from Harden on a nightly basis. The dude's basically, he has a 50-50 chance at triple-double almost every night, it seems like. The dude's basically putting up a triple-double every night. He's averaging, just if you give him 2 more rebounds per game, he's averaging a triple-double this season. Like, he's just been so good with Kevin Durant off the floor. He's playing so many minutes. He's going to play around 40 minutes if this game is close. At 11K, with so much value today, I want to try and get in James Harden, and it should be very easy to get him in. So he's one of my top studs for sure. I like him on Yahoo as well. Pretty easy to get him in there because, on Yahoo, there's always guys you can find that are underpriced, and that is definitely the case once again today. So really do like James Harden a lot as a pay-up option. Kyrie Irving, you could look to target as well. I prefer Harden on this slate, but I don't mind Kyrie either. I'm not playing anyone else on Brooklyn though. It's really Harden and Kyrie, and I would say Harden's the guy that I really like. Not too much else, or not too much interest in anyone else. On the Magic though, looking at the Magic today, so Terence Ross, he did not play on Thursday. This is a back-to-back for Orlando, so we're gonna have to watch the status of Terence Ross. Also going to have to keep an eye on the status of Michael Carter-Williams. Michael Carter-Williams was also out on Thursday night. Both Ross and Williams were out. If these guys are out again, I don't think that really changes too much. Chasson Randle was someone that I liked for value once it was announced that Michael Carter-Williams was out. But, we have better value on this slate. I don't think Chasson Randle's really going to be someone I look to, even if MCW's out again. I will mention Vooch just because it is such a good matchup against Brooklyn. This is a spot where, centers have been able to just dominate against Brooklyn. Vooch has done really well against them so far this season. Through 2 games against Brooklyn, he's averaged almost 60 DraftKings points per game against the Nets. Like, this Nets team is one you can target down low. They're not a good defensive team. They haven't been playing as fast lately, but still a good spot here for Vooch. It is a back-to-back, so we could maybe see Aaron Gordon rest on the back-to-back. We could maybe see Terrence Ross be out again. If those guys were to be out, that would just make me like Vooch even more. I would say Vooch is definitely up there, for pay-up options for me. I would say he's up there with Harden, even some of the other guys, some other studs we'll talk about. I do really like Vooch here. He's the one guy that I think really stands out from Orlando, but I'm probably not playing any other Magic outside of Vucevic or even really considering any other Magic. So we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Golden State and Memphis. So Golden State, really this game as a whole, but on the Golden State side, this is where we get our value for today. At least right now, I think this is the team we want to be heavy on. We already know that Steph Curry and Kelly Oubre are both doubtful for the Warriors today, and DraftKings, really both sides, DraftKings and Yahoo, they did not adjust the pricing for these guys being, expected to be out. Really, everyone's the same prices they were last slate, if not a little bit cheaper. So I think Draymond Green right out of the gate is 6,700. Regardless of Curry and Oubre being out, I think Draymond's a really good play at 6,700. But with these two guys out, I don't want to say that it makes Draymond a much better play, because I think Draymond, a lot of his fantasy upside comes from, assists, comes from peripherals. I think his rebounding numbers might see a little bump without Oubre, without Curry. His assist numbers should skyrocket, though. He's just going to have the ball in his hands a lot more with those two guys off the floor. This Warriors offense is probably going to be a lot less efficient without Curry and without Oubre. But Draymond's just going to get, the ball in his hands so much. He's going to be probably the primary facilitator when he's out there. At 6,700, he's someone I like a lot here against Memphis. Hopefully Golden State can keep this game close, because if they do, and we get normal minutes, 35, 36 minutes from Draymond, we've seen when he plays his normal minutes this year, Draymond has a triple-double, or he has triple-double upside almost any night. He's really the one piece I think stands out the most from Golden State, but there's a lot to like on this Warriors team. Draymond, I also do like him on Yahoo, $29. I think he looks like, a very strong power forward option over there, but also Andrew Wiggins, we had this scenario earlier this year. I think it was, I can't remember what game it was. I can't remember exactly which game. I think it was this one against Phoenix. So in this game on March 4th at Phoenix, I believe Draymond, Oubre, and Curry were all out that day. And Wiggins, he was pretty disappointing. Only had 26 DK points in 31 minutes. But without Oubre and without Curry, you would expect Wiggins to be able to produce more. Wiggins has been super, he's just been super bad this year. He's not someone I've really played much at all in DFS. You look at his game log. I know game log isn't everything, but in his game log, he only has one game over 30 fantasy points in his last 10. He's just not someone I've really considered this season, but I do have interest in Andrew Wiggins today. Just without Curry, without Oubre, there should be more usage available for Wiggins. He should be able to just get more shots up. He's not really an aggressive player, but at 6K, I do like Wiggins a good amount. I think Jordan Poole is probably my favorite value, though, from Golden State. I'm not exactly sure what their starting lineup is going to look like. We could see Jordan Poole start, but we could maybe see someone else start. Regardless whether he starts or comes off the bench, I do expect Jordan Poole to be very productive when he's out there. I expect him to get a lot of usage. At 4,500 on DK, super cheap on Yahoo, $12. I think he's probably my favorite value overall from Golden State today. He's been productive already this season. On a point-per-minute basis, he's been around a point-per-minute player this year coming off the bench. He is a guy that will go out there and just take a ton of shots. He's a high-usage player. With no Curry, with no Oubre, there should be even more usage available for Jordan Poole. Even if the Warriors, if they get blown out here, if they just get run out of the gym, I think Jordan Poole is still going to be out there even in a blowout, which makes me like him even more. So at 4,500, he is my favorite value play from the Warriors. He's the guy that I do like most for cheap. But then these other guys, all these guys are in play for me. So I wouldn't say all of them, but I think depending on what their starting lineup is, I'm assuming that probably Kent Bazemore winds up starting for Oubre, and then Nico Manning probably starts for Curry. Kent Bazemore's 3,400. We saw him have a pretty good game. I think it was against Phoenix. I can't remember which. He wound up starting one game this year. I think it was this game against Portland. He started that game. I think Oubre was out that day. He had 26 DK points in 31 minutes. I assume Bazemore starts, and if he does start for Oubre for 3,400, super cheap, going to be more usage available. Bazemore should be productive when he's out there. I do like him for value at 3,400, and then I'm assuming that Nico Manning starts at point guard in place of Curry at 3,200. He looks like a really good value on DraftKings. He's not a great point-per-minute player, but again, when they played against Phoenix on March 4th, when Curry, Draymond, and Oubre were all out, we got 31 minutes from Nico Manning. He did start that game, had 24 DK points. I'm assuming that Nico Manning starts and probably plays around 30 minutes, if not a few more. 3,200 looks like a really good value play. Just keep an eye on it. They could start Brad Wanamaker. If they do start Brad Wanamaker, then you can just swap to him off of Nico Manning. But for now, I'm going to assume that Nico Manning starts for Curry, and at 3,200, he does look like a really good value play. So on the Warriors today, I would say my favorite targets are probably Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, Kent Bazemore, Nico Manning, and really those four are Jordan Poole. So ranking them, I would probably go Draymond number 1, Jordan Poole number 2, Wiggins 3, Manning 4, Bazemore 5. But all 5 of those guys I think look like really good options today. And you could target like maybe Kevon Looney. He should be more productive when he's out there. He's not going to play a ton of minutes, but 3,200, he's maybe a value play worth considering. Juan Toscano-Anderson, he could maybe start. He's a value play worth considering. That's probably it though for the Warriors today. Well, it's going to depend on what their starting lineup looks like, before we can go to these cheap guys. But for now, I'm just going to assume that it's Bazemore and Manning who start. Could be Jordan Poole though. Could be Juan Toscano-Anderson. Could be Brad Wanamaker. Just they got a lot of ways they could do this. So yeah, Golden State clearly a team we want to be pretty heavy on today. There's a lot to like. Just so many cheap values that are going to have to play big minutes. Good amount from Golden State I really like today. Probably, if I had to guess, my lineup on both DK and Yahoo is probably going to have at least 2 to 3 Warriors in it, if not maybe even 4. Looking at Memphis today, though, on the Memphis side, there really isn't a ton that I like from the Grizzlies here. I think Joe Val and John Morant do look like appealing options, especially if you're playing a lot of Warriors. Maybe it makes sense to run it back with a Memphis guy, just hope the game stays close and you get, a ceiling game from one of these Memphis guys. If I was going to play anyone on Memphis, it would be those two. Morant is a mid-range option at point guard. I think looks solid at 7,600. J-Val, if you're going to that price range at center, I think against this Warriors team, he should be able to have a ton of success. So I do have some interest in those guys from Memphis, but I'm not probably going to look to anyone else on Memphis outside of Morant and J-Val. Moving on to the next game, though, Chicago and Denver. So on the Bulls today, Zach LaVine as a lower owned tournament option I think makes some sense. This isn't a great spot for LaVine, but 8,700. We know LaVine has the upside to pay off this price point. He is obviously a high usage player. Going to be a guy that goes out there and just takes a ton of shots. Going to dominate the usage. If this game stays close, it's probably going to be because of Zach LaVine. So you could look to him in tournaments. Tomas Satoransky is someone I've been playing for value recently. He's been priced up to 4,400. I think he's still in play, though. He's probably going to get over 30 minutes. The last 3 games that he has started, he's played 26, 31, and 34 minutes, 33, 31, 22 DK points. I think for, over $1,000 less, I'd rather play these cheap Warriors guys over Satoransky. But, yeah, Satoransky definitely in play for value, assuming that he sticks in the starting lineup. He's the one guy I think I really do like from Chicago. Probably not playing too much else here on this Bulls team outside of Satoransky. Maybe LaVine, like maybe Thad Young, but yeah, I think we can go ahead and move on to the Denver side. So with the Nuggets here, there really isn't too much I like on Denver outside of Nikola Jokic. With all the value that we have on this slate, with so much value from the Warriors, it should be very easy to get multiple studs in today if that's the route that you want to go. I do like Jokic quite a bit. He's up there with Harden. He's up there with Vooch in terms of favorite pay-up options for me. Such a good spot here against the Bulls. This Bulls team, they play fast. They're not good defensively. We saw Jokic have a massive game against Chicago earlier this year. 77 DK points in 38 minutes. Nearly had a triple-double. Like, you cannot ask for a better spot here for Jokic. And we know he's been so good this year. Obviously a very, high-usage player, very productive player when he's out there. The offense runs through Jokic. He is by far my favorite guy to target from Denver. I don't mind Will Barton either at 5,600. Continues to get 33, 34 minutes a night. Wish he was a little bit cheaper, but still, if we're getting 34, 35 minutes from Will Barton in a good matchup against the Bulls, like he's definitely someone you can target at 5,600. Him and Jokic are my 2 favorite plays from Denver today. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, I think are just, lower owned tournament plays. Jamal Murray looks appealing at 7,400, but he's just been so bad lately. It's hard to trust Jamal Murray at this point. He's not been shooting the ball that well. Hasn't been as aggressive as he was, earlier on in the year during, late February when he was putting up those huge games every night. Hasn't been as good lately, but the matchup is good. Don't mind Jamal Murray. I think top plays from Denver, though, are Jokic and Will Barton for me. But looking at Dallas and Portland, we'll talk about these last 2 games before we do end the video. So on Dallas today, I really think it's just Luka and not too much else I like on Dallas. Dorian Finney-Smith is out, so I honestly can't remember who started last game. I think, so Tim Hardaway started last game in place of DFS. I honestly don't know what Hardaway did. I didn't even really consider him. I mean, yeah, he did play 37 minutes, which I guess was good to see, but only 24 DK points. Like, Hardaway is just not going to be as productive. He's not really going to be that productive at all, playing alongside Luka and Porzingis. If I'm targeting anyone on Dallas, it's going to be Luka. On this slate, I think I'd rather have Harden. I'd probably rather have Jokic. I think I'd rather have Vooch for cheaper as well. But Luka, we know, has massive upside. It's a great matchup against Portland. Don't mind Luka at all today, and there's enough value to get in Luka if you want to pay up for him. He's the one guy I do like from Dallas. Not too much interest in Porzingis, though. I think there's just other guys I'd rather target for cheaper, over him. Porzingis just, really hasn't been that good lately. We haven't really seen a good game for Porzingis in quite some time. He's honestly kind of tough to trust at this point. Just don't know what we're really getting from him, on a nightly basis. Just the upside's been, kind of questionable. So, yeah, I think that does it for Dallas. Now in Portland today, this is a back-to-back for the Blazers, which is one thing to note. CJ McCollum, he's been coming back from injury. Maybe they rest him here on the back-to-back. I'm not exactly sure. If CJ McCollum rests, I don't think that really changes too much because obviously, a lot of these Portland guys were priced up for when McCollum was out, so none of them really stand out as top options. Dame, look, I didn't really have much interest in Damian Lillard on Thursday's slate. Today, I'd rather play all these other studs that we've talked about. Like, I just don't really like Dame at 10-9 with McCollum back. Maybe if McCollum rests, then you can maybe look to Dame, but I'd rather play Jokic, Harden, Luka, Vooch. Like, just give me those guys over Dame today. I don't see too much on Portland that really stands out. Portland's just not a team I have much interest in on this slate. So we can go ahead and talk about the last game of the night, Minnesota and Phoenix. So on Minnesota today, this is another team that's on a back-to-back, which will be something to monitor. But these two teams did play, each other Thursday night, so they're not having to travel or anything. I don't think we're going to see anyone rest here. But Karl Towns for 9,400. I like Towns a good amount Thursday slate. I think today's a different day just because we have Vooch, we have Jokic in really good spots. I think those are center options that I would rather pay up for. But Towns does feel still a little bit too cheap at 9,400. Anthony Edwards, I think, is a viable tournament play at 7,100. Just continues to get a ton of usage without Beasley and without Russell. Taking a ton of shots every night, playing big minutes every night. Don't mind him. Ricky Rubio, another guy, like I had interest in him on Thursday's slate, but today just a different day. We have a ton of games. I think there's other options I'd rather go to over Rubio. So really, it's Towns and Edwards for me on Minnesota as just lower owned tournament plays. Don't really see any core options from Minnesota though. And kind of the same could be said for Phoenix. Again, like I had interest in Paul, I had interest in Ayton on Thursday's slate, but on a big slate today with so many other games, with so many other options, these aren't guys I'm really considering for my one lineup. You could play these guys in tournaments. You could play them you could have them in your player pool if you're playing a lot of lineups. We know Chris Paul has plenty of upside. It is a good matchup. Same with DeAndre Ayton, but there's just other spots I'd rather target on the slate. There's other guys I'd rather go to in that price range. So really, these late night games are not that appealing for me. I don't see too much I like in these 10 o'clock games. So that really does it, guys. That does it for all 10 games tonight. I hope you guys did enjoy the team-by-team breakdown. Hopefully, it did help. If you did enjoy, hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also get notified every time I do go live. Once again, on Friday afternoon, I will be live streaming around 4:30 Eastern Time. You can tune in if you are able to. We'll be able to break everything down, talk through the slate once again. I'll be able to answer all your guys' questions. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight. I appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.